Hello there, and welcome to Master of Horror, a series of true scary, ghost, Wendigo, and cryptid stories that I've gathered from all across the internet and what I have heard throughout the years. These videos have rain in the background so as to help you relax and sleep. I hope you enjoy true paranormal Wendigo and cryptids stories. Okay, now let's begin. Paranormal story number 1. My best friend became a Wendigo. In this true story, some names have been changed. My friend Roger, after not hearing from him for about 2 years, came to me and asked me to help go with him to a cabin in the woods about 2 hours from where I lived, so he could show me and tell me something that was very important. I went ahead and got into his car, and we headed to his cabin. This was a huge surprise to me, for I hadn't heard from him in 2 years. While in the car, he did not look the same as I remembered him. I asked him how he was doing, but he didn't answer that. He said, "Ben, I know it's been a long time. I was hoping you would have answered me like you did, and I thank you for that." The whole ride over there to the cabin felt really awkward, and I knew that he must have been in some kind of trouble, so I asked him, "Roger, is everything okay? Are you in any kind of trouble?" Roger looked at me with a straight face as sweat began to come down his forehead. He said, "I need your help with something, Ben. I really do. You're the only one I could trust at this point." I looked at Roger in the eyes and I told him, "Is Samantha okay?" Roger didn't answer me. It was quiet pretty much the whole way to the cabin. I actually looked over at him while he was driving, but no matter how much I tried, not look like my best friend Roger. There was just something about his face. He then parked in front of a cabin and said, "We're here." So I got off and waited for him to open the cabin front door. He went in and waited for me to come in behind him, and then he locked the cabin front door, and he sat down in front of a fireplace that was already lit. There were 2 chairs in the room in front of this fireplace, one for him and one for me. Roger then said, "Let me finish talking first, and I promise you that anything that you want to ask I will answer. Just please sit down across from me and listen to everything I have to say. I will make it quick." So I've known Roger my whole life. I knew there was something very serious going on. So as a friend, the best thing that I could do is just listen to what he had to say. So I sat down across from him and said, "Go ahead and speak." Roger said, "When I moved to Canada with Samantha, my fiancée, 2 years ago, everything was perfect. We had the perfect idea of a family and of our future together. A year into living with her in Canada, she started talking to some old friends that she had in school and would come home late at night. I didn't see this as a problem because I've always trusted Samantha. She began to act weird. She started dressing in all black, and there were times where she didn't even look like herself. The first thing that popped up in my mind is I suspected that she was cheating on me, or maybe there was someone else she was talking to, but that was far from the truth. Sometimes she came home really late, and I would ask her, why is she coming home so late? And she said, it's okay, don't worry. I'm not messing around behind your back. There was something I really had to do after work that was very important. This went on for a couple of months, until it got so bad that she would not show back up at home days at a time. I started to notice that her skin would look more pale, but yet she would look more younger. She looked vibrant and her eyes had a sort of a glow to it. She looked so young, way younger than she really is. There were times I could not even keep up with her. But everything changed one night. She had said that she wanted to play a game, so she tied me up to a chair and put handcuffs on me, on both of my wrists, tightly. I thought she was going to do something kind of naughty, something that we've never done before. But I've always trusted her, so I went along with everything she did. She said, I'm going to call a friend over. But I didn't understand why she would want to call one of her friends. But by the time I knew, somebody had came to the front door, and it was quiet for a while. I wanted to get up to see what was going on. I couldn't do anything. She even put duct tape around my mouth, so I couldn't scream. I didn't understand what was going on. When I heard screaming come from outside the bedroom door, my eyes widened with fear. The door opened to my room where I was, and Samantha started pulling in her so-called friend by the legs. He was unconscious, and I've never seen this guy before. I didn't know if she was joking around, but when she grabbed a hammer and bashed his head in, I knew this was for real. She began eating the flesh off of him. I started screaming, even though I had tape around my mouth. She looked at me and smiled and said, "This is what I've been hiding from you for the past year. I am a flesh eater, and that's why I am so vibrant and alive, and I want you to become like me." She grabbed the knife and hacked off his arm and put it to my mouth and said, "Bite and eat." With the same knife that she used to take his arm off, she put it to my throat, and I said, "Please, don't kill me." I was starting to beg her. I had no choice. I decided to trust in her, even though I knew at that point that she was a murderer. I had no choice but to bite the arm, and so I ate as she said. The flesh tasted awful at first, but as soon as I was done having a few bites, something changed inside of me. For some weird reason, I began to want more. She started laughing, and she saw that I started eating more and more without her pushing me to do it. Hearing my friend Roger telling me all of this stuff made me sick. I said, "Roger, are you okay? Are you sure you're telling me the truth?" Roger got very angry, and he screamed like I've never heard him scream before, and said, "Just listen to me. I would never lie to you. Please listen to me." I leaned back in my chair. Roger said, "Ben, I'm almost done. Please, just listen." So Roger continued to say that the weeks went on, and he began to have a taste for human flesh. He said me and Samantha went on crazy eating binges, eating sprees where we would kill and eat humans. It started with maybe one person a week to where it became almost an everyday thing. Roger looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Ben, please believe me. I've been consuming flesh every day for months, but have gotten to the point to where now I cannot live like this." I asked Roger, "Where is Samantha? What happened to her?" Roger then said, "You see, about 2 weeks ago, Samantha started to change. I woke up one night and her body became that of a creature, and she had eyes that were no longer green but turned red. I even found her one night drooling as if she wanted to eat me. When we were outside one night, she went up to me crying, telling me that she did not want to live like this no more. So I started crying because I missed the Samantha that I used to know, the Samantha that didn't eat humans, the Samantha that had a beautiful heart. You see, Ben, the people that she was hanging around with must have been also Wendigos, a creature that eats off the human flesh and survives. All I remember is grabbing the gun, and while her back was turned towards me, I shot her in the back of the head. When I did, I kid you not, her body became that of a creature. Her true self came out, and her skin became slimy. Claws were formed in front of my face. As she lay dead, I had no choice but to bury my very own Samantha. So you see, Ben, I came to you to ask you a favor. You see, I cannot kill myself. It will be too hard. In order to break the curse, someone has to kill me. I came to ask you to please help me in my life. If you do this, the curse will be broken, and I will no longer have a hunger for flesh." As Roger was telling me this, I noticed his eyes were turning red. I noticed that his hands were gripping his pants tighter and tighter. At this point, Roger said something that I'll never, ever forget. What he said chilled me to the core. Roger then said, "Ben, even now, I am fighting it with all I can, the urge to want to get out of this chair and eat you alive. You see, Ben, you're my best friend, but even you have the possibility of being eaten alive at this very moment, for my hunger for human flesh is too great at this moment. I ate flesh, human flesh, just hours before coming here. You see, Ben, on the way to the cabin to get ready and set the fire going, planning everything that I was going to tell you, I passed by a rest stop, and there was a family which consisted of a husband, a wife, and 2 kids. They were in their car, and I spotted them. I was watching them as they got out and walked into the rest stop. Not only did I eat and devour all of them, but in the back of my car, there are body parts. He said, "Ben, if you want proof, just look in the back seat of my car." So I got up, I walked outside, and I peeked into the back seat of his car, which he had a cloth covering something. So I opened his door, and I picked up the cloth, and there were 4 heads, 4 human heads. I quickly covered the heads back with the cloth, and I threw up on the floor. I ran back inside and sat down. Roger looked at me in the eyes and said, "You see, I'm telling you the truth. I'm not lying to you. I am a monster, and I asked you to please, before I hurt anyone else, kill me, Ben. Just kill me. Look, right there. I have a loaded shotgun. Please blow my brains out so I do not hurt anyone else." I was really scared because for the first time I was going to kill someone, but not just anyone. It was my best friend I was going to murder. My best friend Roger. The Roger that I've known since we were kids. since the second grade. Roger continued to speak and said, "When you're done killing me, I have in the glove compartment $50,000 that I saved up that I will give to you that you can have. That is my life savings right now. That is what me and Samantha accumulated throughout the years. In the back of my car, I also have gasoline and matches. I want you to torch the cabin. Torch it to the ground." I looked at Roger and I told him, "Okay, I will do it. I will do it for you. That's the least I can do." I quickly looked at Roger's eyes and I saw hope in his eyes. He smiled. He smiled, and for the first time I saw him smile, and I knew that he was going to be at peace. He knew he was going to be in a way better place. I got up off my chair and I grabbed the shotgun and I walked up to Roger. My hands began to shake. I've never ever killed anything in my entire life, let alone a human being. Roger looked up at me and said, yes, Ben, please." Just then he stops me and says, "Wait, Ben, thank you. Thank you for doing this. And I love you." I closed my eyes and I started to pull the trigger back until I felt an explosion coming from the shotgun. The vibration alone shocked my whole body, starting from my arms to my head. The shotgun blast was so powerful that it jerked me back. All I remember is my own face got covered in warm liquid. It was blood. I quickly ran to the kitchen and rinsed my face off, not wanting any of the Wendigo blood in my mouth. It touched my eyes. It ran down my face. I didn't want this on me. I quickly was trying to clean myself off. I think this was traumatizing. I walked to the chair of where he was sitting, and he had no head. I went to the back of the car, and I quickly took the gasoline out, and I torched the cabin. I watched from the outside the cabin going up in flames. The whole cabin, with my best friend Roger, and any memories that he's ever had were up in flames. But just then, while the cabin was in flames, I forgot that he had the key in his pocket to the car, and I was going to be stuck there in the woods. But it was way too late. The flames were too big at that point, and smoke filled the cabin. I had no choice but to leave the key in his pocket. I ran to the back of the car and I grabbed a backpack that he had, and I went to the glove compartment and I pulled out the $50,000 in cash. I also grabbed the handgun that he had in his car. I hurried up and I put gasoline on the car, and I also lit that on fire. I ran towards the dirt road on the main path out of there. As I was walking, many thoughts were going through my mind. I was able to hitchhike my way back to where I lived. I rented a motel for a couple of days, not wanting to go to my house. And here I am writing this down on the desk in the motel room, that everything that I have written down and that has happened is true. That there are such things as Wendigos and the paranormal, and these things do exist. I don't know if I'll have nightmares. I hope I don't. But most of all, to Roger, I hope you're in a better place, my friend. Goodbye. Me and my uncle are Mexican and Native American, and this happened in the Mojave Desert in South California. He was driving around with his girlfriend late at night, and they saw something that looked like a huge black dog on the side of the road. He slowed down, and the dog then began crossing the road. Instead of walking like a normal dog, this thing moved like a toy rocking horse. He said it stopped in the middle of the road and stared at them, and its eyes had a red glow. My uncle is the most coolest badass person in the world. He didn't even get scared. Nothing scares him. A man from the reservation has just delivered a bull to a buyer's ranch out far in the reservation. He starts getting lost, and in a couple of hours it gets late. It's a lot of land, and what maps are available aren't always available. Anyways, it's late and getting dark by the time he gets on the main road towards home. Just as he gets to the intersection where there's no stop sign, he sees up ahead, right in the middle of the road, a lone coyote is just standing there. So before he starts driving, he leans on the horn, and in response, he watches as the coyote raises up on its back legs. It resumes the form of a man. Only his legs and feet, arms and hands seem more canine than human, and it starts walking towards the opposite shoulder. The man, not believing what he's seeing, closes his eyes and shakes his head. When again he looks, there's a coyote sitting off to the side of the road and looking back at him, as if it's waiting on him to drive by. The man is certain that it's the lights playing tricks on him, and the fact that he has been on a long drive must be draining him. However, as he passes that coyote, he gives it a quick look, and he sees that this coyote is grinning at him. Having heard stories of skinwalkers, the man blesses himself, and he fixes his eyes on the road.